People get asked all the time. You've probably been asked this too. Hey, how are you doing? The response I seem to hear all the time is, I'm busy. Busy, 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 busy. Everyone seems to be busy, right? Everyone seems to be getting a lot more and more going on in their life. Things are coming at us from every direction, right? One minute I'm getting an IM, next minute I'm on my iPhone, next minute I'm doing this, next minute I'm doing that. Everybody's busy. And it occurs to me that it might be useful for us to explore the futility of busyness, that busy doesn't really assist you at all, really. I mean, if you're like me, you've probably gone home at the end of the day and thought, wow, I was really busy today. Not sure that I accomplished anything, but I was really busy. And so the question's got to be, busy doing what? And is busy really what we're after, or is productive what we're after? I get asked often to do time management programs. I don't do time management programs, mostly because I don't know anything about time management. But what I do, and what I often do, is I think about this concept of productivity. And so I want to explore with you a principle that perhaps many of you have heard me talk about in programs that we've done across the country and around the world, this concept of high gain activity. You'll hear me say it in this video and in many others that you'll watch. All things are energy. And where we invest our energy on a daily basis is what matters the most. Energy in the investment of it is actually in your control. Contrary to popular opinion, you can invest your energy anywhere you want. Some of us allow others to drain energy from us. Some of us invest our energy in people who drain the life right out of us. What we're talking about right now is the extent to which we're able to invest energy in activities that produce a high gain for us, as we define high gain. And high gain can be defined as high gain emotionally, high gain psychologically, high gain spiritually, high gain mentally. Anything that's high gain for you is something you need to be considering the investment of energy in. Now, unfortunately, if your life's like my life, if your life's like most people's lives, there are distractions all the time, right? We've got meetings to attend, teleconferences, we've got bills to pay, we've got family to attend to, we've got to work out, we've got to get our car fixed, we've got to go to the cleaners, we've got to write a report, we've got to call on customers. The noise becomes deafening of all the things we have to do. And so what tends to happen with people is people tend to allow those things, these extrinsic things, these things outside of our locus of control, to access us and begin to drag us away from the things that are most important. You've probably experienced that yourself. You probably wake up some mornings with great intentions, and by the end of the day, many of those intentions do not manifest themselves in reality, and so we tend to resign ourselves to them, which is a huge mistake. So what I want to encourage you to think about is the extent to which you're the kind of person who has the discipline to channel energy in this thing called high gain activity. So I'm going to take you through a very brief exercise. You can certainly get these forms from us. We actually have forms on high gain activity that we'd be happy to send you. I want us to consider some questions. I coach a lot of people, and one of the things I coach them to do is focus on high gain activity. High gain activity is defined as the one thing that if you invested your energy in it all day long, every day, would have the highest and most profitable and productive outcome on your business, your family, your organization. Pick a category. For our purposes, we're going to talk about business. So I come to your office, I sit down with you and I say, John or Jane, you need to tell me what is the one activity that if you engaged in it would give you the highest probability of the best outcome. And if you engage in it constantly. And then you'd answer me, and I'd ask you this question next. What percentage of your time is currently spent in that activity? So I'm going to ask you to do that right now. What is the one activity that if you engaged in it all the time would give you the highest and most productive outcome? The one activity at work every single day that you know that if you spent your time doing it, you'd have huge ROI. And then I want you to answer this question. What percentage of your time, really, not in your fantasy, what percentage of your time is really spent in that activity every day? Is it 5%, 10%, 20%? What percentage of your time is spent in that activity? And then the next question I want you to answer is the more difficult question. And that is this. What percentage of your time are you currently spending in that activity? What's the activity? What percentage of your time are you currently spending in that activity? And then the next question is, what percentage of your time do you need to be spending in that activity? That's the tough question, isn't it? So, I know I'm spending 5%, Mike, but I need to be spending 10 or 15%. So think about that. You know the activity. You know the reality of the amount of time you're spending in that activity. And now the question is, what amount of time do you need to be spending in that activity? Write that down. Now, if you're like 90% of the people I work with out there every single day, what you just realized is there's at least a 10% gap between the amount of time you are spending and the amount of time you need to be spending. The amount of time of actuality and the amount of time of dream or fantasy. Now, I know there's all kinds of reasons you're not spending all that time that you need to be, so please park the excuses. I just want us to make one incremental shift, just a little baby jump. If you're at 5%, let's try to go to 7%. If you're at 7, let's try to go to 10. If you're at 12, let's try to go to 15. Let's just try to make a move. And let me share with you the 2 questions you need to ask yourself in order to make that move. Question number 1, what would you have to believe in order to increase the amount of time you spend in high-gain activity? What would you have to believe? Remember, all things are mindsets first. Mindsets will ultimately drive your behavior. What would you have to believe? And then ask yourself how strongly you believe it. Now, here's an interesting little trivia fact for you, just between me and you. You will do based on what you believe. That's the bottom line. So if you say, I believe it 100% and you're not doing it, that's not true because you just don't believe it that strongly. What would you have to believe? Would you have to believe that it would actually have an impact? Would you have to believe that sales would actually go up? Would you have to believe that people would really pay attention? What would you have to believe in order to increase the amount of time you spend in high-gain activity? And then the second and final question is, what would you have to do? So I'm asking you 2 questions, aren't I? I'm asking you on the one, what mindset would you have to increase the amount of time you spend in high-gain activity? And then, what would you have to do? Very simple. What's your high-gain activity? The one thing that if you spent time in it would have significant results. What percentage of your time are you currently spending in it? What percentage of time do you need to be spending in it? What would you have to believe in order to increase the amount of time you spend in it? And then what would you have to do? And then my encouragement is that in the next 24 hours, you engage in some behavior that's going to moderately increase that amount of time and watch the results grow. It'll work, no doubt.